Welcome to the review for Unit 14 on volume. So the volume of a cube, we have two of them here. So either way, it's length, right? Volume is length for cubes and rectangular prisms. The volume is the length times the width times the height. We know it's a cube because the length, width, and height are all the same number. This is 9 cubed. This is 1/4 cubed. And 9 times 9 is 81, and 81 times 9 is 729. So the volume here is 729 cubic centimeters. 1/4 times 1/4 is 1/16, and 16 times 4 is 64. So the volume here is 1/64 cubic inches. Yeah, it's weird when you have fractions and you multiply fractions, you get smaller fractions. Yes. Right, so we did surface area, which was how much gift wrap was on this present earlier. But volume is how big the possible present that could be inside is. All right, so those are all cubes, and if they're all cubes, that means all three dimensions are 4. 4 times 4 is 16 times 4. So this one is 64 cubic inches, and this one is 64 cubic inches, and that one's 64 cubic inches, and it's 64 times 3. 192 cubic inches. Here, length times width times height in any order. I'm going to do 8 times 5 is 40, since I can do that in my head. Then we have 12.4 times 40. I get a row of zeros. Then I step over. 4 times 4 is 16. I don't need to cross that out. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. And is that right? I feel like I made a mistake, but no. Okay. And then 4. Okay, so we have one decimal, and it's 496 cubic inches. Half the paper would be that divided by 2, right? Now, if we were asked that right off the bat, we could do canceling, and right, we could have multiplied by, half of 8, 4, and made this 40 a 20, but I'm going to take, since I did it this way, I'm going to divide this answer by 2, right? So it would be 2 goes into 4 twice, 2 goes into 9 4 times, 2 goes into 16 8, so half of that is 248 cubic inches, right? It would fill it halfway, or up to, right? The height would be 4 inches instead of 8 inches. Right, so I see a rectangular prism there, a tall one, and then I see a cube. We're going to add them together. Now the cube is 9 times 9 times 9, which we just did, 729 cubic centimeters here. The prism is 19 high and 9 here. What's this dimension? Oh, it's also 9. So it's 9 times 9 times 19. So it's 9 times 9 is 81 times 19. 972, step over 81, 9, 3, 1,539 cubic centimeters, but we got to add those two together to get the total volume. And 5 and 6 and 12 and 2,268 cubic centimeters. All right, pyramids are 1/3 the size of a rectangular prism. So if you had to find this rectangular prism, right, with the exact same height, length, and width, the pyramid will be 1/3 the size, because the volume of a pyramid is 1/3 the area of the base times the height. But the area of the base, since it's a rectangle, in this case, is length and width, right? It's 1/3 the rectangular prism. The area of the base here is 14 times 9, right? And the height here is 20. We can cancel this 3 with anything. I'm going to cancel with the 9. I'm going to do 3 times 20 first, so I can do one calculation, 60 times 4. 4 times 0, 4 times 6. Step over 1 times 60. And I'm getting 840 cubic centimeters for the volume of this pyramid. Pyramids are 1/3 the size. Just like what else? Cones. All right, let's find the volume in the cube not occupied by a square pyramid with the same height. So, you could do this with subtraction. You could take the cube and subtract the pyramid, but we've done this before. All right, so you take the cube and do 3 times 3 times 3 for what? 3 times 27 cubic centimeters, and then you subtract the pyramid, which is 1/3, 3 times 3 times 3, right, which is 9. I guess we could just do it this way, and you subtract that, and 27 minus 9 is 18, is that right? Yeah, 18 cubic centimeters. But I'd also really like you to know that if 1/3 is occupied by the pyramid, 2/3 is the rest. So 2/3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is another way to find the answer. And you get much faster if you just know that 1/3 is by the pyramid, 2/3 is left. And so 2/3 of the cube, 2/3 of that is 18 cubic centimeters. But you can do it either way on the test. Right, so that is a what? It is a cylinder. And the cylinder, right, so when they're circular, they're all based on the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, right? And this one is pi r squared h for cylinder. So it says leave pi in your answer, so that's good news. The radius here is 3. I gave you the radius, not the diameter. And the height is just adding these up, and that's times 5. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 5 is 45. So the volume here is 45 pi cubic inches for a cylinder. So find the volume of the whole, use 3 for pi. All right, so the whole, right, the whole, you know we're going to subtract this in a second. The whole is pi r squared h. It's a cylinder. And it says use 3 for pi. The radius is 4, which we have to square, and the height is 10. Oh, so 3 doesn't, there we go. And so 4 squared is 16. 16 times 10 is 160. And so this is 160 times 3. 3 times 6 is 18. We're getting 480 cubic inches for the volume of the whole. I better label that. All right, so now find the volume of the rest of the cube, right? So the cube equals 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000 cubic inches. So then we have to take away the whole. Right, we have to do some borrowing here. That becomes a 9, that becomes a 9, and we get a 0, a 1, and a 5, and it's 510 cubic inches for the rest of the cube. So this is a cone. Just like a pyramid, a cone is 1/3 the size. Right? This is 1/3 the size of the cylinder of the same height. So it says use 3 for pi. We're making our life easy. Oh, did I use an equal sign last time? I think I might have. Hopefully you were yelling at me. And 3's cancel, and I'm getting just 45 cubic inches approximately. But the real answer, if we used 3.14 or used pi for real, would be a little bit higher than 45 cubic inches. Right, so if you have 3 of these, right, the volume of 3 is 3 times the 1/3 pi r squared h, but the 3's just cancel, right? And then it's back to this volume of a cylinder. That's really why this is here. So where it says use 3 for pi, radius is 2. We got to square that times the height. 2 squared is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 8 is 96 cubic inches. Right? Hopefully that's 3 of those. If you fill these 3 cones with ice cream, it's the same amount as in that cylinder. And it's right, it looks like more. And that's why the ice cream cone is used by all the different companies, right? Because it makes it look like more. Sphere, volume of sphere is the oddball. It's 4/3 pi r cubed, right? Because there's no height. And so we're going to use 3 for pi again. So we're going to approximate. And the radius is 2, so it's 2 cubed. Those cancel. 2 cubed is 8. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 cubic inches. So we're going to find the volume of this hemisphere, right? Half a sphere is called a hemisphere. All right, so volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed, but we're going to find half of it, volume of half. Okay, so then it says very nicely use 3 for pi. And then we have the radius is 4 times 4 times 4. So these 3's cancel. Then we have a bunch of 4. You can cancel this 2 with this 4 and make a 2 there. 4 times 4 is 16 times 16 times 4 is 64. So then we have to do 2 times 64, right, which is 128. 128 cubic inches for the half sphere, the hemisphere. All right. So how many 1 by 1s? These are 7 by 7 by 7. How many of these 1 by 1 by 1s? Well, that's the same question as asking the volume. And that's what I want you to know. So, right, one of these is 49 times 7, 304. One of these is 343 cubic centimeters. So this one's 343, this one's 343, and the number one mistake on the test will people will think each one is 49, but they're volume, length times width times height. So right, and so how many of these 343s do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just coincidentally, there are 7 of them again. 3 times 7 is 21, 28 plus 2 is 30. 21 plus 3 is 24, and there's 2,401. Oh, cubes, right? It's not cubic centimeters. The question was how many 1 by 1 by 1 by cubes will fit inside there? 2,401 exactly. How many bags of sand that are 9 cubic inches will fit in the box below? Well, the box below is 4 times 4 is 16, 160 cubic inches. And we want to know how many of these 16 cubic inch bags, hopefully we can see, that's 10 bags will fit in there. Find the volume of the large rectangular prism not occupied by the cube, right? So the prism, right, it's the rectangular prism minus the cube. Right, so the rectangular prism is, let's do it, is 20 times 8 times 12. And the cube is 6 times 6 times 6. Well, 6 times 6 is 36, and 36 times 6 is 216. So that's 216 cubic inches we're going to have to subtract. And let's see, 20 times 8 is 160, and 160 times 12 is, I'm getting a 2 there, and then a 160 here. It's 1,920, so I have to do 1,920 minus 216. Borrowing, and I'm getting 1,704 cubic inches for the rest of the space of that rectangular prism. All right, so it's half full, so it's a cylinder, pi r squared h, and we're going to do half of it. And yes, you could just do 22 divided by 2 in your head, and it doesn't say what you should do. Let's leave pi in our answer. The radius is 10. And the height is 22. So 2 goes into 22 and goes 11. 10 squared is 100. 100 times 11. Let's be a little careful about that. Step over, right? 1 times 100. Step over another 1 times 100. Yeah, it's 1,100. So V equals 1,100 pi cubic feet. One little mark is feet. Find the volume closest to the answer. Finally, we gave a diameter one, 4/3 pi r cubed, but that's the diameter. Be careful, there's more than just one on the test. So the radius is 9 inches. So again, closest, we're definitely using 3 for pi, and we're doing 9 cubed there. 9 times 9 is 81, and 81 times 9 is 729 times another 4. 4 times 9 is 36. And 8 and 11, and 28 and 29. I'm getting 2,916 cubic inches, but I use 3, so it's a little low. Yeah, it's 3,000 cubic inches. Good luck on the homework.